Yo, what's up boys, and welcome to a first look at some gameplay of Breaking Point. This is a game which for the past few weeks a bunch of you guys have asked me to make a video on and let you guys know what I think about it. A lot of people ask me whether I'm actually backing the Kickstarter, which they started up a few weeks ago. The game has been in development for a decent amount of time. I think they originally started showing some footage of it back in early 2016. It's on Unreal Engine, and obviously the Kickstarter goal of 400,000 Australian dollars, which ends in 3 days from now, it's not going to be reached, unfortunately. You guys know I love everything survival games involved, so I thought I'd just look at the gameplay of this, since a lot of you guys probably haven't even seen it. They released this gameplay trailer not at the original Kickstarter launch, but actually just a few days ago. I think the original trailer, which all you guys seen with the cool music and shit, was a bit of a letdown, really, and I think it's why the Kickstarter hasn't managed to hit its goal. Not to say if we shown this trailer or this gameplay instead that would, easily reach $400,000. It's a lot of money. They have done pretty decently, but unfortunately it is an all-or-nothing Kickstarter. So that means if this doesn't reach $400,000, aka 250,000 Australian dollars in the next few days, then I'm not really sure what the developers have planned. They haven't really publicly said we're going to continue working on it, or we're just going to ditch it, or whatever else. The reason I'm sure many of you guys are actually interested in this project is not only because Breaking Point was a pretty good mod for ARMA 3 and ARMA 2, although it was known as Broken Point for a while on ARMA 2, hehe. But it was one of the first ARMA 2 DayZ mods, so I don't blame it. But it's because Sacriel's involved in the development, or at least for the gameplay recommendations, I guess, side of this Breaking Point standalone project. I wasn't sure what game Sacriel was going to announce that he was working on, but I was a bit surprised when I heard it was Breaking Point. A year ago, like I said, they originally shown off some gameplay of it, and it looked really, really bad. And I'd still say just at this point in development, the gameplay doesn't look good enough to really, ask for such a large amount of money. I get why they need a large amount of money, they've broke down why they need that, but the gameplay, although it does look very decent, it doesn't really look more than decent, in my honest opinion. Making a good game takes a long time, and this game simply has not been in development for, I think, a long enough time for the game to be ready to be shown to the public to generate such a large amount of money. I do think that the game's definitely got potential. It's clearly doing something a bit different to a normal survival game. You'll see with the character right here, he is constantly followed by a companion, which is a dog. I don't know how much the dog really matters in terms of gameplay right now, but there is a big part of this game having a focus on PvE. So there is numerous different enemies in the game which will pose you a threat rather than necessarily always it being PvP. And when I say that, I don't mean the PvE aspect is unique. I guess the game which I played a lot recently, which apparently I was paid to play, Miscreate, also has numerous different PvE elements to it. Just as many, I'm sure, as this game, if not more, since it's got, 10 different mutants. Well, not that many, but quite a lot. So when I say it's unique, I just mean it's got a dog that follows you around, which is something we wanted in the original Broken Point, so that's good. You've now got a dog. Not trying to put down the game. I'll show you guys a few different screenshots and shit throughout this video, or after we've seen this gameplay video, which I'll have a link to in the description below if you want to see that on YouTube from the original source. But it does look, it looks pretty. The assets in this game look decent. But it's got a release of April 2018, and they've specifically said they don't want to do a Steam Early Access release. They want to have, I guess, a release which they wouldn't consider an alpha, and rather a beta release. Which, in case you're wondering, for a little breakdown, but that's around about 10 or 11 months between now and then to have this initial beta release of the game. You'll see in a few seconds you can do some very basic survival things in this game, like opening doors with sounds. It's pretty cool, right? And being able to loot up different houses with food and drinking and stuff like that. Obviously, you do need some kind of way of getting these weapons. You will also notice that Mutant was attracted to the sound, which is pretty cool. But seriously, going from an ARMA 2 or an ARMA 3 mod developer to making a fully fledged game for X amount of money, it's a very, very hard task. Some people have done it very successfully in the past, aka PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, going from, yeah, shut the fuck up, dog, going from an ARMA 2 and ARMA 3 mod and then to H1Z1, and it's the most successful game on Steam, which isn't made by Valve right now, and it will continue to grow. And obviously this game is really coming from the same background, except we don't have necessarily a really, really experienced development studio working on it with the idea behind it, the brains, in this case, Sacriel. I'd love to hear what you guys think about this game, though. Whether it's good or bad, I will undoubtedly play it on release. I don't think I've answered the question right now, but I haven't backed it on Kickstarter just because, although there's not really much of a reason not to, since I would just give my money back if it doesn't reach the goal, but just because, I don't know, I just wasn't turned on by the trailer, and I wasn't too turned on by the gameplay trailer either. I wanted to see something a little bit more. I feel like a Kickstarter needs to just really, really grab your attention. In my case, I just don't back many Kickstarters. for you to go ahead and back them. And this one really didn't grab my attention as anything too crazy out of the survival norm which we're used to these days. There's other games out there which do pretty much what this game does, but obviously with a different direction really to this game, like Survivor Nights, Miscreated, Daisy, Nightsea right there, you can see over there, and stuff like that. It's also a bit weird how these props wobble while in the draws, but yeah, you're paying attention to that, right? They did partner up with numerous different streamers with plans of essentially implementing an insignia on their arm for those streamers. So say for example you have a Twitch account which is subscribed to me, Sysin, on Twitch, you would then automatically link your Twitch account to the game and you'd have the insignia on your arm, which I think is a pretty cool feature, having a game which is very, very driven by the Twitch community. PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds is slowly but surely moving over there as well, with obviously the implementation of attaching your Twitch account. So in the future you might be able to do some cool things in that, like, you know, making a game different by typing something in the chat, or possibly having an insignia as well. I do know they do want to eventually add some player or some content creator crates into the game, so then you can get certain shirts and stuff which will support them and have their insignia on it. Either way, we'll see our first bit of PvP right now. Across the street in the second story is a lovely little fella. You know, you guys can take from this what you will. If you want to check out the Kickstarter and see everything they have to offer, I'll leave a link to that in the description below. I'm not saying necessarily don't throw your money at the screen, since, like I said, you are likely to get your money back anyway. But you can see why I was a bit unsure about the game, I guess. Like, it's nothing too crazy, if you know what I mean. Not to, like, shit talk the game or whatever, but I was actually kind of surprised that the game even generated 150,000 Australian dollars. That's a lot of Australian dollars. I mean, obviously in USD that's like $10, because Australian dollars are worth $0, but, you know, that's a joke. It's not really very funny either. Kangaroos, lol. I don't know, man. You can't make the survival scene happy. Everyone gets angry at the Daisy devs because they're developing it too slowly. Everyone gets angry at Miscreated because it's kind of dead, even though it develops pretty fast and pretty well. And really, 50% of people that play the games are going to end up dying and being upset that they died after running around for 2 hours. So it's a walking simulator. How do you win with a survival game these days, you know? And clearly I'm not too happy with the way Breaking Point's looking right now either, so yeah. And also, in case you're wondering what does the original trailer look like from like a year ago, they deleted it, so I can't show you it, but just trust me, it wasn't very good, because clearly it just been developing for a few weeks. Wow, that was scary. It's a game to watch regardless. This, what you're seeing on screen right now, you might not have seen as well if you haven't paid any attention to Breaking Point / its Kickstarter, but this is the original trailer which they launched, you know, at the top of the Kickstarter, like, hey, look at this is the game. Please give us your money, and it just didn't really look like too much more than showing some very basic assets to me with some music in the background. In terms of like gameplay mechanisms and stuff like that, they have mentioned a few things, like the fact that it's going to be 100 slot servers, it's going to be a 200 kilometer squared map. That's pretty big. There's no doubt that the armor-free Breaking Point mod was one of the most successful, although I found the medical system incredibly irritating, but essentially we just want to take that and make a standalone version of it. So things like the factions will still be in, so the nomads and all that kind of stuff will still be in. I'll show you guys some screenshots on the screen right now. These are all the ones which are on its Steam Greenlight page right now, which this was the same page which originally had the trailer, and the older screenshots, which like I said have since deleted. I just find it very odd that like things like, for example, this trailer and the gameplay trailer I was showing you, they've got comments disabled on it. I just don't really understand why. It's like they're scared of hearing critique of people saying the game looks bad or something. Not that people necessarily would do that, but why disable the comments? I haven't disabled comments on any of my videos, and some of those are pretty controversial. I guess you just gotta get thick skin, especially when developing a game. If people say your game sucks dick, and as long as you believe in yourself and believe that you can push out a good product, nothing else really matters, you know? People tell me my YouTube channel's dead, and that my YouTube videos suck dick every day, but it pays the bills, and I do believe that my content is okay. So that's why I continue doing it, because I know that some people like it. And that's all that matters. Good example of this is probably Survivor Nights. This game's had so much flack with all the delays it's received. And just a few weeks ago, they've shown off the gameplay trailer, which they've said is going to be coming out for like weeks and weeks. Back since like December of 2016, they said, oh yeah, the gameplay trailer's going to come out, then the fucking game's going to come out. Just wait, guys. Oh, we're fixing this, we're fixing this, we're fixing this. Everyone gave it shit. And you know what? When the original gameplay trailer came out, which I would have had an annotation to a few seconds ago, I felt it was a pretty good trailer. It showed me some things, like a list of things, like this is the trap system, this is the barricading system, this is the looting system, all that kind of shit. This is the electricity in the game, and I was like, oh, those are some pretty cool features, all those together in one little game was an attractive investment to me, even though I invested in the game years ago. But all those together, if I didn't have the game at this point, I'd probably be like, hey, I should probably buy the game. This looks like a pretty good package. But yeah, who really knows the outcome of Breaking Point? This video wasn't meant to be shitting on it. Like I said, I still hope the game is good. But, you know, looking at the facts and just realizing that the game's going to be out in 10 months from now, assuming they get funding. Like I said, I don't know what happens if they don't get funding. That is a bit of a concern, really. At least in my opinion. Even if it did get all this funding and managed to hire all of those different staff members, I still do believe at the initial release of, hey, we're not a Steam Early Access game, I don't think it would really have enough in it to warrant it even having the title of not being a Steam Early Access game. I'm not really sure where I am in this situation. Am I delusional? Am I being unnecessarily critical? Or am I just being a realist and taking in the footage and coming out with a logical opinion, I guess? You guys can let me know that. But that's my opinion on Breaking Point. Looks okay. Hope it does well. Not really too sure though. Sakurai might have years and years of survival game genre experience, but that does not mean that the development team behind it will necessarily be able to pull off anything short of amazing. I really did want to show you guys where Breaking Point started from, or at least in terms of a standalone. Obviously, you guys know of ARMA 2 and ARMA 3 mods, where those started from years and years ago. But this standalone video came out originally, you can see, on October the 9th. This was uploaded by a user called Webman97 on YouTube. It's the only thing I can find in terms of like a decently high-res version of this video. I'm sure if I looked harder, I could find it. But this was the original Steam Greenlight page, which was showing some gameplay on. And you can see why I said it was a bit shit before. Obviously, up to this point of making this little video, the development hadn't been going on for too long. That's why I said it'd probably been since early 2016. Obviously, to make something along these lines of a post-apocalyptic world of some sort, you are going to have to at least develop for a few months. So this game probably started out in early 2016. So there you go, you have pretty much everything of relevance for the Breaking Point standalone, all presented to you guys in one video. You get the trailer, you get the gameplay trailer, you get the stuff that you probably haven't even seen from 2016 of the original Breaking Point development. Clearly it's came a long way from 2016, or late-ish 2016, to the current halfway through 2017 state. So it's not possible for this game to be good, but still I'd recommend just waiting and seeing what the development team comes out with before throwing your money at the game. Although at the end of the day, you can do whatever the fuck you want with your money, okay? But anyway, thanks all for watching, as always, and I'll see you guys next time.